try to keep up. I bought the Trans Am around 2005, wrecked but with low miles. It took a while to put it together, but it was paid off and mine. It was only a matter of time before my dad and I went after each other. And this is what really started the fire. Not long after that, I had an accident. It was at this time when I first started doing some serious mods. A Dana S60, a roll cage, and a Turbo 400 later, and I really started racing the car more. However, it was my daily driver at the time, so the race parts had to go. A while later, I picked up a truck to daily, which meant I could start making some changes and upgrades. At this time, the car was back to 6-speed, and I was determined to keep it that way, but still go fast. Fast forward a couple, and I upgraded the nitrous kit on the old LS1. It was around this time that I really started getting wild. I got an opportunity to start a new motor build. The next couple of upgrades later, we really started getting the car where I had always dreamed. I went to several events and shows and met a lot of people along the way. Sometime that fall, I hit a personal best of 10.9 at 119 with my LS1. I was ecstatic, but I wanted more. Fast forward some time, closing in on completing the motor, and at this time upgraded the cage, suspension, and transmission. It was time to get serious. We cut the old cage out, installed a new one, some switch panels, rewired the car completely, installed a new Holley system, and did some weight mods. And we were off to the races again. We started making enough power to hang the wheels. We even raced in our very first no prep, but the hunger for more power was always there. After losing many times to turbo cars, we began the biggest change of the Bullet's life. That winter I started cutting, welding, and with a lot of help from friends, we put together a complete turbo kit on a motor still set up for nitrous and sent it. The next year was filled with races, fixes, and confusion as we grew and learned from our mistakes. The old 443 tried to give up on us, so we yanked it, fixed it, and kept racing. It was about this time I started making vlogs and really pushing my YouTube channel. Things started picking up as we kept getting faster until the 443 was gone. At that time I had a Z06 that I sold my old LS3 C6 to get, and I loved that car. But the Trans Am needed a lot of parts, so I sold it and went straight to LME. Over the winter we made many more changes, improving the setup from what we learned, and got the car back together in time for Texas 2K18. And from there, many more races, a couple changes, made some new friends, and set some new personal bests. And now here we are, present day, a 10-year journey. And that's pretty much it. That's been my life for the last 10 plus years. I think it's actually been longer than 10 years. But I've been getting a lot of requests to do a setup video. Not a whole lot of people are familiar with the car. Now you know the history. Let's get into what's in it now. First things first, obviously we're running a Midwest chassis fabricated 9-inch. This is their lightweight rear end version for these cars. It's a nice quality setup. I really did like it when I bought it. We're running 325 gears. Did have 373s in it, went to 355s. Now we're down to 325s because it just loves to climb the gear. So we had to knock the gear down to get this thing to stay on the ground. Thing back here does have tubular suspension, the control arms, the track bar, the torque arm, etc. We do have Viking double adjustable coilovers in the back, subframe connectors connecting the back to the front, and also in the front now running, which in the previous video you saw where we replaced the front coilovers to Viking double adjustable as well. Same thing up front, tubular lower and upper control arms. We're still on stock spindles, rotors, and brakes, which is one of the biggest things that I want to try to upgrade pretty soon because we are going a lot faster. It does have a nasty 8 fuel cell in it. It's a sump cell, stock location, just like the stock tank, only it's got a sump. 24303 Magnum fuel pumps. One of them is on all the time, the other one comes on under boost. These are Weld Racing RTS wheels everybody's familiar with. I got them a long time ago when they weren't as popular, but now they're just, every car has them. 17s in the front, 15 by 10 and a half in the back. Run Mickey Thompson 275/60/15 Pros. That's the tire to run at street car events. I mean, you can't get anything faster than that tire. Yes, this is still the stock hatch and spoiler. One day I'll get the VFN products, but not today. Low speed air to water ice tank, and we have hoses going all the way to the front. We also relocated the battery to the back. We do have a rock solid motorsports motor plate front tube kit, which you guys are familiar with. We did have to relocate the alternator from the left to the right, as you can see, if you can see down there. It is a Power Master alternator on a custom bracket that I had to fabricate half of in order to make work for the headers that are on there. Obviously, as you can see, turbo guards, got my custom name on one of them. PTB turbo blankets, everything's wrapped. The one thing I do hate about this car is these headers. These are stainless works headers. The only headers that I could find that were nice and were gonna work with the car. But I regret getting them because 3 and 5 over here are a pain in the butt to get to. I always have ignition issues with those 2 cylinders, and it does hold us back sometimes. This is a custom radiator I ordered, and we had to fabricate some stuff on in order to fit it. It's now at the very front of the car. Factory headlights, they still work and everything. FTI turbo 400 transmission and a Pro Torque bolt together converter. I love that converter because any changes that I make, all I got to do is take it out, take it apart, swap a stator or refresh it, or look at it to make sure everything's fresh on it, and put it together and roll with it. One of the best investments I've ever made was that converter. Obviously, this is a 427 LSX built by LME along with their valve covers, Cali pistons, Cali rods, the whole 9 yards, ARP head studs, holding down the PRC 247 heads, Holley EFI fuel injection with Holley 160s, Holley EFI intake. All that is being fed by 2 Borg Warner 369 SXE turbos, a custom air to water intercooler setup, and everything we used was Vibrant Products, their HD clamps on the car as well. All the boost solenoid stuff is tucked under here. We use CO2, as you can see in here, to control boost on the car. We're also using it to control the air shifter. This is an M&M air shifter, and I love that shifter. Everything in the car is Holley EFI. We have rewired this car from front to back. There's no stock wires on it. We removed everything and just completely rewired it. Holley EFI screen, the Dominator, you can't actually see it because it's underneath the dash. Custom control panel. There's switches for all the car accessories and for all our what used to be nitrous accessories. So I really don't have a lot of use for those buttons now, but we still use line lock, and we're using another one for the air to water tank. No, those gauges do not work in my car. They were the old nitrous gauges, but I have yet to find vents, so they're just gonna have to stay in there for now. Kirky racing seats, also with a Midwest Chassis 10-point cage. This cage is cert for 8.5s. Oh, and one of the biggest things is that this is still a T-top car. I take them off whenever I'm loading the car onto the trailer or whenever we go on cruises. Still a T-top car, still heavy, but she moves, and hopefully pretty soon she'll be moving a lot faster. Lots of stuff, I'm sure I'm forgetting little stuff, but for the most part that covers everything big. LME 427, Borg Warner 369 turbos, FTI Turbo 400, Pro Torque converter, Midwest Chassis fabricated 9-inch, full suspension, M&M air shifter, Holley EFI. That's pretty much the recipe for this car. Hopefully this weather holds because it is kind of rainy and it's supposed to be raining all week. Next week is a Paul Walker Show event. Important that it doesn't rain out because we got to test this car and see if it's going to hold higher boost or if it's going to have any problems. That's it for now. Let's get to work. And one last thing, how could I forget? My VFN cowl hood, one of the most important things that go in the car with a bunch of holes in it. That wraps it up.